Here we are, April the 11th, and we're going to try to plant corn today. Got the little corn plot rotor-tilled a while ago, and it's kind of a chilly morning, April the 11th, and I'm going to get some seed from the corn that we grew last year, and I'm going to use this little device right here. This machine right here was made in 1903, and I got it from a guy at a farm around here. He had quite a bit of antique farm stuff, and this will show you how this thing works. Now this machine here makes it a lot easier to get corn off the cob. Of course it's dry corn, and we're going to get our seed corn that way. Now the corn I grew last year, and I harvested it when it was dry, and I put it in this bucket, and I had, pull that lid off, Debbie, pulled it in this bucket, and I have done nothing to it. We pull some out every now and then and let the kids that come to visit us grind some off. This corn was given to me by a man about 6 years ago. He said it had been in his family for generations, and it was a good meal corn. And down here in South Georgia, it's not really known for corn country, but this corn did very well. It has a very strong husk on it. Weevils and bad things don't seem to get in it, you know, it's got so many layers. And but it only makes 2 ears per stalk. And the ears are nice size. It's white corn, good for grinding up. Of course the animals like it, good for making cornbread. And it grows extremely tall, somewhere around 10 feet tall. We were amazed at how tall it grew. So I'm going to hand the camera over to Debbie, and we're going to just keep on here, and I'm going to show you how we get the corn. We'll get a hold of a pretty good size ear. I'll show you this ear. This ear does not have any kind of holes in it from, as I take it down. It's kept out here under the shelter in this thing. It has got 0 bug problems. I don't know if you can see. It does not have any. So I'm going to take this, wring the shuck off, and use this machine now to get the corn out. Just put it in there, turn the handle, and you see it kicks the cob out at the end. Get back over here. I'm going to look for another good ear. It's amazing. The corn earworms, which is a problem in sweet corn, did not even get in this corn at all. So that means that it's got such a good cover of shuck that it just didn't get in it. One more time, I'm going to show you how it works, and it kicks the corn out.
Right.
And this corn, just keep it on there. This corn, if you were to do this by hand, which we did some by hand, I can promise you that this stuff here, show you how tough it is, without that machine, this stuff here is extremely difficult. It just hardly will come off. You can get it off, but you have to really work at it. It's just not coming off. And of course, in a very short time, you would be wishing that you had this machine to do it. And it kicks the cob out. Now we use this corn mostly for the purposes of showing the children that come to visit us here how it was done in the old days. There's a nice piece of corn right there. And I'm going to use this to plant. This is perfect corn. There's no bugs whatsoever. It's pristine, beautiful corn. So that's why this is a good kind of corn. Because you can, you know, it makes, now here's a couple of little bitty brown spots on that, but I don't know, I don't think it's insects. I don't know what it is, but it's not much. And once it gets started, it grinds it down in there. Okay, and then after we'll just show you what the people did with the corn years ago. They had different. Here's another machine over here I'm going to show you. This is a grinder here. Now this machine here grinds the corn up into meal. And I'm just going to show you here. You see it come out. And you see that grinds it and cracks it up. So when we do have kids over here, we let them get the corn off the cob, and then we let them put some in here and grind them up some meal, and we throw it to the chickens. So I'm going to go ahead and get the seed that I need, and I'll proceed to the planting in a little while. All right, I'll say a little bit more about this corn. Planted this last year in the spring, harvested in the fall, put it in that plastic bucket, shuck and all, and here it is April, and this stuff is still perfectly good. Now you can see this was the way people survived back in the times past. They made a corn bin out of wood, and they put it all up in there. It had a roof over it, shucks and all, and they pulled it out through the slats. And this is how they survived. This and the garden that they had where they grew their mustard greens and their turnip greens, and people survived that way. And I am going to show you how to plant this corn in a few minutes. I'll do one more. An amazing machine made in 1903, and it still works perfectly. This little part here has a spring on it. See that spring? And as that corn goes down in there, it gets tighter and tighter, and this spring gives, you see there? And it allows the corn, this got hinged, and it allows the corn seed to go down in there, and it feeds it down, and it's got a little set of teeth here. So if you had one of these, there's a little hole in it right here that looks like maybe you're going to put a drop of oil in there. And this thing here says, let me read it for you. It says, Black Hawk trademark registered. Says Clarksville, Tennessee, USA, made and warranted by A.H. Patch, Clarksville, Tennessee. Well, and it does say 1903 right there, 1903A. So Mr. A.H. Patch, P-A-T-C-H, had a good reason to feel like he could warrant this thing, because Been well over 100 years since this thing was made, and it's still cranking out the corn. The handle says Black Hawk Sheller AH patch. I do intend to put a little the wooden part of this handle has decayed off through the years. Here's the original thing, but I haven't bothered to do it. It doesn't bother me, but I do need to put a better handle on that, but it still works. All right, and I see the ears of the what do you call this? Nut, rabbit ear nut.
Wing nut.
Wing nut, yeah. The ears of the wing nut on this side have broken off, but the ears on the wing nut on this side have not broken off. This is how you attach it to the wood. But we were able to throw a little WD-40 on it and get the wing nuts loose and clamp it to this board. And so now, like I said before, I'm going to go try to get this corn planted and show you how we're going to do that. Alright, the peacock found the corn that we spilled a while ago while we were, our tub that we got it off on had a crack in the bottom and we spilled a good bit of it, but it's going to good use. Mr. Peacock's, I think we call him Mr. Green Jeans, is eating him some. Mr. Green Jeans is a pet around here. Come here, baby. He'll let you touch him a little bit. See there? There we go. Come on back and get you some corn. I quit messing with your tail. All right, back to work. All right, this is the machine that I'm going to cultivate the corn with. And that means go between the rows and to knock the grass and weeds down. And it has to be, the corn has to be wide enough to where the machine won't tear it up. So this machine shows that the tines are 17 inches apart. The housing is 19. So you say that we put the corn 2 feet apart right there, then we'll have plenty of room. We could even go 22 feet. I know I always have a tendency to want to put stuff too close, but this is not commercial corn production, so 2 feet will give us plenty of room to cultivate between the corn. And remember too that if you have your corn wide apart, the plants have a chance to grow bigger because they have more room for air, drainage they call it, and more room for their roots to go in. So we're going to go with 2 feet. We're going to plant our corn rows 24 inches, maybe 23. I think I could even live with 21. Tell you the truth, I don't know. I'm going to go with 22 inches, okay? Now, we'll set the planter up for 22 inches. So let's go over there and do that. Okay. All right, you got it going? Okay, here's our Jang cedar. Now, I made a video about a month or two ago about the Jang cedar, and I did get a lot of comment on the YouTube channel. So people are interested in this, so I do want to go on with that. I really like this Jang cedar, but what we're going to do now is set up for 22 inches. So that means we got to go from here to the next row at 22 inches. So we go from the middle out to 22 inches, which is right here. So I'm going to undo this. I don't know if I'm going to undo that or not. I don't think I'm strong enough to undo that little wing nut. All right, I got to get a pair of pliers. Hold on. All right, here we go. If I got me a pair of pliers here where I can undo this wing nut. I just wasn't strong enough. And we're going 22 inches from the middle of the planter, as we decided we would go 22 inches. They want to fall over. 21. This ruler's got a magnetic tip on it, and it keeps grabbing the machine. All right, here we go. 22 inches right there. Okay, that's how wide our rows are going to be, and I'm going to tighten the wing nut. Okay, now let me show you how this thing works. We got our corn seed, and this roller, I made this roller. It was from another roller that I bought pre-drilled, and the corn seed was too big to go in the hole, so I just took a drill bit and I made them larger as I went around. Now that corn seed will fall into those holes right there, and basically take the a roller out that's the correct size for another seed. I'll show you that. This thing comes apart. This roller comes out. This roller here's got little bitty holes in it. That's for a smaller seed. I think I planted carrots with that. And this one goes in with the big seed. And you can customize your seed rollers like that with this giant seeder, and put the cotter pin back in, or the clip, and zip it back up. And the corn goes in there. Just hold on a minute. Let me get, where did we put our corn? The corn goes in there. This is the corn seed that we just got off with our, how is this open? Is it screwed or what?
No, you just pull it off.
Okay. Corn goes down in there. As the thing goes along, it picks up the seed. Okay, it's not coming out good. Alright, we got an adjustment for that. Alright, there's a little brush in here. Right there. And you see, this little brush, as I turn it, it's getting hung right there. So I'm going to take this little brush and raise it up. And now, it's going to let the corn seed come out. Here it comes. It's not picking every one of them up, that's for sure. I got that brush up all the way. And the corn seed, it'll miss one every now and then. Miss two there. Missed one. Missed one. Alright, that's how it works right there. I'm satisfied that that's going to let the corn out right there. And goes right back in there. And the reason that I put the bungee cord on it is to hold this down tight, because it had a tendency to come off the sprocket. And I think there was a nut down here, or a bolt with a wing nut, and I must have lost it or broke it. There was some kind of a device that held this in place right here so that it wouldn't pop up when the sprocket engaged over here. But whatever that device was, it's not there anymore. It's pretty easy to just hook up I just hooked up a bungee cord, and it wasn't the right length, so I just tied some knots in it and hook it down right there, and it holds it in place. Alright, got our thing set at 22 inches. We've got our right whole thing, and we're going to go out there to the garden, and we're going to plant the corn, hopefully, if the Lord is willing to help us. Okay. Alright, we're out here at our garden area, and we're going to do it right now. I got a stake down there on the other end of the garden that I'm just going to start right here, and I'm going to push as straight as I can, keeping my eye on that stake. That's the way the old timers told me how to do it years ago. If you were driving a tractor and trying to lay off a row, same thing walking. I just keep my eye on that stake down there, and I will not take my eye off of it, no matter what. Keep my eye on the prize. And this row marker will mark off the row, and I'll see if every now and then I want to look down and see if the corn seed is coming out, and yes it is. Piece of corn stalk from last year got hung up right there. But keeping my eye on the stake, keeping my eye on it, not looking up. Every now and then I might look down to make sure that the corn is coming up. Coming out, I mean. And there's my first row. And if you'll film down the row, you'll see how straight it is or unstraight it is. It's pretty darn good. Okay. Now I take this machine, turn it around, and put it on the row marker row. Flip the row marker over to the other side, and then proceed on the next row. And now I'm not looking at the stake, obviously I'm looking at driving it right down the row that I made with the row marker. Corn seed are feeding out nicely. I can see them dropping out through the hopper. And I think it's got plenty. There's one that didn't get covered up right there. See that right there? So what I'll do is in a day or two I'll walk along here, or maybe this afternoon, and if I see one that didn't get covered up, I'll kick some dirt over it with my foot. Alright, that's two rows. These rows are probably, I don't know, better than 100 feet. 120 feet long, I'm guessing. And so we're going to look at the clock right now. We're going to cut the camera up. We're going to look at the clock, and we're going to tell you how long it takes to plant this whole thing. Alright, it's 10:10, so we're going to say we started at 10 o'clock. Alright, you can go ahead and cut it. Okay, I'm planting these rows off. I did have a little problem right here I want to tell you about. I did not tighten down my wing nut enough on my row marker, and the row marker slipped. And I planted this row here. It only marked it off at like 16 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, but I reset the row marker back on 22 inches. So I guess I just didn't tighten it down enough right there, but going on with it. Okay, another little snafu that I saw. This corn this is not the one, but one got hung in there that was just the right size that it wedged in the hole, and I dug it out with my knife. So maybe at the end of each row, if you got that problem, you might want to look at your seed and make sure that one of the seeds has not got hung in the hole. Of course, if it gets hung in the hole, then nothing can come out that hole as it goes around. But there was actually two hung in there. So for this seed, it probably wouldn't hurt to have it just a tiny bit bigger. But I'm just going to check at the end of each row and make sure that a piece of corn hasn't gotten hung in the, put it in there, gotten hung in the hole. That all can be worked out. That's why you have to watch, you know, with any kind of machine like this, you have to keep an eyeball on what's going on, you know, and make little adjustments. It's a machine, but I don't think it's putting out more corn than it needs anyway, you know, but I'm going to have to come back later after it comes up good and probably chop some of the corn out, you know, to get the proper spacing. Alrighty, back to the planting. I'm about halfway through now with the is that John? Mm-hmm. All right, here we are. I got the corn patch planted. I stepped it off. It is 210 feet long, and I got 18 rows, 22 inches apart, and that comes to about, if my figuring is right, 3,600 feet of row of corn. So that's a 200 by I guess about the width of it is about 60 feet, I guess. So an acre is 200 by 200 feet. So this is 200 feet long, and let me step it off just a minute. I'll tell you how big this is. Okay, I did the calculation here. 200 feet. An acre is like 214 feet, but it's 200 feet by 40 feet is about what this patch is, and that comes to 8,000 square feet. 44,000 square feet is in an acre. So this is 1/5 of an acre is what it is, roughly. 5 times this, 5 times would be an acre. So this is 1/5 of an acre. Okay, well, we'll keep you updated on the corn planting and, you know, the corn patch.